Good evening, and welcome to the Town of Dudley Planning Board meeting for Wednesday, November 8th, 2023. First item on our agenda is a note that the meeting is being recorded, and second is Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, I think we're on overtime. It's past 8 now.
Welcome to times, what is it? Time savings.
Yeah, daylight savings.
Daylight savings,
Something
yeah,
like
this is
that.
the word. Daylight savings. Okay, so first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes for October 25th meeting. But I think at that meeting, if I remember right, you weren't here, so we
Nor
wouldn't-
was I.
we wouldn't be able to approve those.
I would have been abstaining if we had.
And they have,
I did view the video, but
Yeah.
I don't feel that
All right, so
it's appropriate.
we're gonna have to postpone those meeting minute approval until we have a full board here. That's not a problem. So,
I believe, Mr. Chairman, if I'm not mistaken, there's mention in there, I believe that you brought it to the meeting, the mention of the master plan.
yeah,
Yes.
I did print out something. There's chapter 41, section 81D, and it does say, and the planning board is first mentioned, the planning board is established in any city or town under section 81 shall make a master plan. So effectively, it is on us.
yeah.
What my understanding of it is, and Bill maybe correct me, is that as a town, we are required to have a master plan, but we're not required to update it. The last one dates to 2000, and if you look at that, actually some of the data that's used to put that together dates back to 1990 census. So you're talking about better than 30 years old, at least in some aspects. Again, long overdue. Unfortunately, you look at the RFQs that towns are sending out for a master plan, and you're looking at 6 figures.
Really?
And many of them, yes. And this is a cottage industry, well, more than a cottage industry, it's a big-time industry. People are out there, hawking their wares in terms of being able to do and revise master plans, and they ain't cheap. That's the unfortunate part of it. I don't know how much of it we could take on ourselves. I think that would have to be the solution in regards to Dudley. And I don't know how much the CMRPC, I know we have some hours, but apparently this is the chore that takes a lot more than the hours that we have available currently, or would likely have in another year or so.
Bill, do you think,
You may recall that we have the master plan as an item in the capital improvement program
okay,
for $100,000, which is probably about the minimum that you would need to do a plan. And CMRPC just did the open space and recreation plan, which is a
Right.
component of the master plan. So
That is one, they
element
identify
covered.
certain elements, that is one of them, open space and recreation.
is there,
We could, do it piecemeal.
Okay.
We could go to CMRPC and say, could you do the housing element, economic development, or transportation, pick one, and then sort of work on them one at a time.
and then see if we could get them to help us put it all together?
Right.
There are 9 specific elements that are identified.
Yes.
Well, that's a definite possibility, I think. Or would it be possible that they could give us a quote on what it would cost to do everything that we're missing, with the exception of, because we just did the open space and recreational plan? Because it would be nice to know, like, if you're saying that we have $100,000, like, not necessarily earmarked, but we know that that's what it is. I mean, it would be nice to know if we're talking about to finish it would be $300,000. It would be nice to know that so we could put it in there and change the 100,000 to 300,000 or whatever it is.
I don't know if you see the CMRPC newsletter, but the one that came out this week showed they were doing the Grafton Master Plan.
I think
They
I
had a
did
big
forward that
workshop
to the
with like
membership.
50 people, in attendance, and sort of visioning what the town should look like in 20 years.
So they should be able to have, if they're doing other towns, they should have a pretty good idea of what
I'm
this
sure they
much it
do.
would cost.
And I would think they have some number of people on staff who are very well versed in what is required there. one concern would be that if this thing in parts at least dates back better than 30 years, I don't know how much of a cut and paste you can do without having to go back and take a hammer and a shovel to it.
That's a good idea. I would just like to get an idea for, you know, I wouldn't wanna go to the, you know, to the, Board of Selectmen or anybody and say like, we need $100,000 to do this job, and then to find out that down the road it's 300,000, or, you know, go vice versa.
Sounds like a roof.
Say it's 300,000 and it turns into 500,000. So if we had a better idea, I think that would be good for us. All right, next thing on our agenda would be A&R plans. We don't have any for tonight, Bill?
No.
Next thing on the agenda after that would be set public hearing date for the Dudley Housing Authority site plan review and approve contract with Quinn Engineering for site plan review, for site plan peer review. So we would use this Quinn Engineering to represent the planning board, because our current consultant town engineer is the one that's doing the work for the housing authority. Okay.
So we've decided not to meet on the 22nd of November, so the next possible date would be the 13th of December. So I would suggest we hold a public hearing that date.
That's fine with me.
And I think
Everybody else okay?
we decide to go with Quinn, which seems reasonable to me, then I think they'd have plenty of time to get their report in.
Mr. Chairman, have we had dealings with this Quinn Engineering Incorporated in the past, do you know?
The name sounds familiar, but I
Isn't that
can't
the one
remember.
that represented Nichols? Isn't that Quinn?
No. But I've worked with Quinn before in other capacities,
Okay.
and they're very good.
All right.
And what was their estimate for the review?
5,000 something.
Proposed agreement in here
5,000, was it?
under new business. Their fee was for both the review and for the construction oversight.
Looks like they're recommending a budget of 1,800.
Yes. That seems reasonable.
That seems reasonable, yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna say
okay.
that, $1,800.
I was misreading the number, excuse me.
Okay,
Is that just a parking lot that they're redoing?
Yes. And they're adding some new spaces.
and this is at Joshua Place,
Yes.
okay. And obviously, it's a major site plan review? It's a major site plan review, so they're,
More than 10 spaces.
okay, that was gonna be my next question, they're touching more than 10 spaces. Okay.
Stormwater report, and
Yep.
it's not a complicated project, but still needs to be done.
All right, so if everybody's in agreement, we'll have the public hearing on, what'd you say, December 13th? And we can send the request to Quinn to be the engineer of record for the planning board. Next on our agenda, request for town council opinion on rescinding a member's vote on the approval of the site plan modification for DMA Holdings, 35 to 37 Chase Ave.
Mr. Chairman, that was requested, David, so I'll let him explain that.
Well, the lawyer came in back in March and told us that that they had already provided us with 114 and 115,000, or somewhere around there, in both excise and post-community agreement. And then I didn't talk to Rita, but I got all the information that he has, and it's like nowhere near that. For the whole year, it was like 89,000 for the excise alone, so. Based off of him just, telling us information that isn't accurate, I wanna see what rescinding my vote would do, or if I could rescind my vote. But also for the host community agreement that they have, that's part of our conditions, and they're not following through with that, so. It's not just rescinding my vote, I wanna see like what options we have as a board to shut them down, or not shut them down, but get them to follow their condition, I think it's like number 16 or something. be compliant with HCA.
So if, on that particular vote, was it, do you remember what the vote call was? Was it a, was it?
It was a site plan modification. so
Right.
it Only needed a simple majority. I forget how many.
It was 3-2?
EU and Richard voted yay. And
3-2?
Dan voted no. Yeah.
So if you were to rescind your vote, it would be a no.
No, yeah.
Okay, so that would, it would make a difference.
Just for the record, that conversation earlier with Mr. Scanlon, we do have them coming in, hopefully in January of next year. They are due for an annual review with us. They were several months late with it, 2024. Hopefully they'll be on time with this one. Regardless of what happens with this, we could probably bring up some of the issues you mentioned with that meeting that they are obligated to attend.
And
So
do
the
we-
town administrator wanted a vote of the board to go to town council, that an individual member alone cannot make that request. So that's why I put it on the agenda. So if you would like council to review the matter, then as a board, you have to vote to ask for that.
Sure. Do we know, is town council reviewing their contract?
The host agreement?
Yeah, to see if there's anything we can do about that, or is that,
Well, I think that would only happen if the selectmen had reason to believe they weren't complying with it. Then it would go to council for what would be possible remedies. So, and I know David has questions about how much they've actually paid, but I don't have the numbers either, so I don't know where we stand.
all
It was
right,
supposed to be 3% of gross profit, not net, but gross. And
Yeah, for the host community, yeah.
right, and this is a very unscientific survey driven by the location on a number of locations, and I don't see the traffic there, frankly, that whatever their business plan was, I think it was very pie in the sky, and I very much doubt that it's living up to what they had hoped it would be. So that 3% is probably gonna be less than the town would hope it to be. It's gonna be
They're-
disappointment all the way.
They're still making 500 a month, according to the lawyer there, and according to the records that they provided for last year, up until March, I think it was.
Well, I guess what you're saying is you don't believe what the attorney was telling us, or at least doesn't have any credibility as
Well,
far as
what
you
the-
can see it.
Yeah, what the attorney was telling us doesn't match what our accountant, or, yeah, I guess the accountant.
Who's the
was telling us.
treasurer collector is on the receiving end of whatever
Yeah,
comes
he
in?
receives the checks and then it goes to her, the accountant.
To her, the accountant, did Thibodeau?
Yes.
All right, we should be able to nail that number down, I don't think, pretty easily in terms of what's coming in the door.
One would think, yeah.
I mean, it would seem
should.
like
It would
it's
seem
not
that
that
way,
difficult.
correct.
I mean, we're not asking for 101,000 different sources of income. We're
Right.
just looking at one specifically with whatever their corporate name is on it as a check or a transaction.
all right, so what's the board's pleasure? Would somebody like to make a motion that we go to town council?
Make a motion to send it to town council.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
I would second, but I will have, I do have some qualms about this. I don't know that we would necessarily want to have a practice of going back and rescinding votes after having taken votes, because why take a vote
Well,
in the
if you
first
got
place if we're going to go back
falsified
and buyer's remorse, kind of get stuck sometimes. But you really want to have that as a ongoing process? I'm not sure, but I will vote in favor of that.
I think we'll get an opinion whether it's
Right.
possible for a member to change a vote and therefore change the outcome of the decision.
I believe that at least we'll learn something as a result of that. That's my hope here.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. So, let's see what the town council has to say. Next on our agenda, standard business, discussion status report on finishing construction of and acceptance of uncompleted, unaccepted subdivision streets, including Pierpont Estates, Rocky Hill Estates, Country View Estates, Eisenhower Drive, Tobin Farm Estates, Lion Estates, Sophie's Way.
We do have a site visit report from Graves on Sophie's Way.
Okay?
20 minutes. This was an in-depth investigation here.
So that's under the standard business tab.
Yep.
stage. Everything seemed to be going well, clean site, going according to plan. Picture looks like, you know, it's being well managed.
Mhm.
Progress on wood.
Anything in regards to any of the others, Eisenhower?
No,
We're getting to that point, you know, where the storm drain issue becomes maybe a little more immediate as we get into some nasty weather ahead of us. And that's still not going anywhere.
Country View Estates,
Yeah, Eisenhower.
Eisenhower. Well, everything is in good shape down there as far as I know.
Right, and now,
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
The only question I would have on that, and I haven't been able to get a hold of Mr. Heaney, but I know last year when we had spoke, it didn't sound to me like he had any intentions of doing the plowing last year, but after I talked to him and told him what the situation was, he did agree to plow it, so, I mean, if we can't get a hold of him, we're not gonna really know if he's intending on plowing it this year until the first snowstorm comes. And then, I mean, I guess we'll have to see it. We do have money in the escrow account, though, that if we needed to have it plowed, we could take the funds out of there, right?
There's, I think, about 10,000 in the escrow account.
Okay. So, but I mean, we definitely need to come to some kind of resolution, I think, on this. So, I mean, I think,
it's been going
yeah,
for a long time.
Why don't we just send him a certified letter? And then
We've
he has to
done that.
respond. So if he doesn't respond, send it to legalized counsel.
Yeah, what could we do with that? Isn't that
Yeah.
subdivision's already expired, right?
Yeah, I mean, the covenant has long since expired for that project, so all the lots have been built, you know, the road's in. It's just a matter of, you know, doing the punch list of items to bring it
and
to town meeting.
what he had last told me was that his engineer had gone out and done all the measurements for the as-built plan, and just, as far as he knew, didn't have it on paper yet, and give it to him. So, I mean, it sounded like it was gonna be a very quick thing for them to document what they already had. and
Well,
put
the
it-
only, you know, other recourse then would be to utilize the betterment program. We'd have to ask the residents if they would be willing to, you know, tax themselves essentially for the cost of finishing the project and then pay it off as a betterment.
I mean, right now, it wouldn't be I can't imagine it'd be that much of an expensive cost. But we couldn't use the remaining money in the escrow account?
Yes, that would go into it.
Right, so that would lower the tax adjustment.
Yeah, I mean, so if this was, if this was a $20,000 bill, and it's $10,000 in the escrow account, now it's a $10,000 bill, and it's 10 houses on the street, that's $1,000 apiece, and the road becomes a public way.
It does sound like it would be to the benefit of the residents. It is dragging along as it is, it's just gonna dwindle that.
Could we just send a letter, could we just take it upon ourselves as the planning board to send a letter to all the residents on the street and ask them if they'd be interested in that?
Well, the selectmen are in charge of the betterment program, so we could ask the selectmen to take that action.
And have them come in and we could talk to them about it.
I was
So
gonna
they would
get
have
to
to
it
go to
in.
selectmen, right?
What's that?
If they came in, they would talk to the selectmen, not us, because they're in charge of it.
Well, I was gonna mention this in the planner's plate, but we've been invited to the selectmen's meeting on December 18th. So that we could, you know, have a couple of items to talk about. That could be one of them.
Okay?
The other item, the main item is to talk about a short-term rental bylaw.
Okay.
CMRPC has been doing a study, regional study, of things like Airbnbs and Verbos, and what towns are doing to manage those uses. And CMRPC has developed model bylaws. One is a zoning bylaw, which then would come to the planning board for like a special permit if somebody wanted to do that, or to the selectmen as, under a general bylaw, as part of their overall licensing authority, to license each of those facilities. And that would require payment of a fee and inspections by building and health departments, and make sure that, you know, the unit is up to code and that kind of thing. So,
Okay, so I follow the, I guess I follow the zoning bylaw, but what was the second option?
So a general bylaw, it could be done two ways, you know.
Oh, so like a town bylaw?
Town bylaw.
Okay, I get you.
And
General bylaw.
under the selectmen, since they, you know, have licenses for liquor licenses and used car licenses, so this would be another of their licensing items.
And that would be, that would also give them the chance to regulate this so that you don't have 100 in town, you only have 3 or 4 or whatever they see fit. Okay.
And,
There are six of these in town, according to the state registration website,
Already?
in town already.
Short-term rentals?
Yes, they have to register with the state,
Okay.
but if the town has no bylaw, they don't have to register with the town. But there are 6 on the state register.
And the second option that you mentioned would involve the Board of Health to ensure that this was the facility that
Yes.
was worthy of, and the
Sure,
building
the fire-
inspector and so
there'd
on
be
and so
fire
forth.
codes
Fire
and
codes and everything.
building
is-
health.
okay. Everything essentially would be what it should be.
Right, make sure that the smoke detectors, you know, the right type and whatever, so.
Could we also, do we have the option to add anything to that discussion at the meeting?
Well, that's the point. CMRPC has a presentation that they'll make
Okay.
during that meeting. And then the discussion will be, A, does the town want to do something about this? And if so, which approach would we want to pursue? And then it would have to go to town meeting for action.
Okay, but you're thinking we could also, while we're there, we could bring up the Eisenhower Drive issue?
Yeah, I think we could add a couple of items to that agenda.
Yeah, I was gonna say, could we also add the master plan?
Okay. I
December,
think,
what, 16th?
Bill, I'm not sure
December.
where it exists, but I mean, I know over time, there's been a number of attempts to try to contact Mr. Haney, and unsuccessfully, or with minimal success. I don't know if we could have some kind of a chronology so that we could bring that to the selectmen to let them know that due diligence has been done and an effort has, more than an effort has been made to get.
I think Mr. Ruder is aware of this, he's.
Well, I don't doubt Mr. Ruder's awareness, but I just think the selectmen and the public perhaps, and residents included, might be made aware that this has been something we've struggled with for a long time.
So the other question would be, you know, if we're meeting on the 18th, what do you want to do about other meetings that month?
So we have what is it, the 13th is
So we have, right,
the public hearing?
December, the usual meeting would be the 13th and the 27th. So if we're meeting the Monday after the 13th,
Cancel the 27th?
we could probably cancel the 27th. And if anything else comes up, I could add it to a separate planning board agenda.
Or we just move it to January, because it's not, I mean, it's the holidays.
Right before Christmas.
Yeah,
But
Well, after
yeah,
Christmas,
but
so.
it's, yeah, I think we would just move it to January, the
Okay.
first one in January.
So I'll post the meeting on the 18th.
Yeah, post it for the 18th, and we'll also post that we're gonna cancel the 27th. I think, even Mr. Edmiston will be in favor of that.
So does the state regulate the Airbnbs that are in town, the 6 of them that are in there, like the fire marshal or
I don't
something?
know. They have to register with the state. I don't know the extent of their involvement after that. There is a room tax that they're required to
The
pay.
state gets that, no?
Right, and if the town does it, the town can collect its own room tax.
Oh.
So there's a payment mechanism for all the effort of doing the inspections.
There's a potential for income.
Correct. But I don't think the state sends anybody out to do an inspection, as far to my knowledge.
Okay, interesting. All right, next on our agenda, inspections and actions associated with site plans. We have Legacy Landing, Country Club Acres, SEP Solar, Oxford Ave, JD&D, 24 Oxford Ave, Stevens Mill, solar project at the landfill.
I was hoping I'd get a landfill report in time for the meeting tonight, but I did not get one. But I do have a handout on how that project is being managed. It's under construction control. I don't know if you're familiar, if you take one and pass it down. It's part of the state building code, and it's, I reprinted the sections from the code so that you get a sense of what this entails. So this is primarily used for larger commercial projects. Most residential projects would not follow this process unless they're, deemed to be, of such an impact that they need special expertise. And so, since this is a town project, this has been placed under construction control by the building department. And the requirement is to retain a registered design professional, which is the term used in this document, who has qualifications and responsibility to oversee the project and to make sure that the project conforms to the building plans that have been approved, the site plan that was approved, to do regular inspections and to stay on top of the work so that it's done properly. So this one was not part of the planning board workload. It was given to, it was placed under this kind of a process. So that's why you're not getting grave engineering reports. So to me, this appears to be a very rigid kind of process with a lot of requirements to and oversight required. So I think the project is in good hands. I know there were some concerns about drainage issues there, and when I passed that on to the engineer, he said that was outside of the work limits of the project. That was primarily due to existing conditions. So there was some drainage there, but it doesn't appear to be related to the solar farm itself. And there
What
was
do you
a
mean?
temporary fence.
They dug the freaking ditch in the middle and now it's flooding onto the
And they put it
trail
in the middle. Of
system.
course it's going from there. They put all those bags around the sides.
And number one, they have kids using it as a jungle gym, climbing all over those things.
Yeah,
And I was
I
gonna
know
take
they
a
have
picture of
some-
them, I didn't have my phone on me.
There are, motorcyclists, that drag through there, and I think they broke through the temporary fence, so that needs to be repaired, and probably a stronger fence put up to protect the landfill, but.
Ultimately, there'll be a real fence installed around the project, correct? Yeah.
It's like 6 kids all over those things the other day.
Now, what, in terms of fences, we go through the height dimension on the fence, was it 7 feet, is that the requirement?
Yeah, but it's only 7 feet wide. I mean, it's at the down, it's like maybe 8
It's
feet
like two
wide.
little panels.
Yeah.
No, the height of the fence.
Right.
The height of the fence, I think, is required to be
But
7
the fence
feet.
is only
But there's no
8 feet
fence.
wide.
There's no fence.
That's it?
in Mr.
Yeah.
Clark.
It's only
There's no
right at-
fence around the perimeter, or
There's
no
no
plans for one?
fence
Not yet.
at all.
Not yet.
There's no fence at all. These kids.
Why
are
don't we just put a welcome mat down?
Exactly.
Skip the
Wow.
fence and
I was wondering if they get electrocuted from climbing on those panels. I'm amazed they haven't thrown rocks at them
I'll
yet.
be frying eggs on them.
That hasn't been approved, or, it's not live wire yet, right?
No, as I understand it, most of the ballast racks and I think most of the solar panels are in place, but the wiring hasn't been done yet.
I was there Saturday.
The equipment hasn't been installed.
Yeah, I was there Saturday, and it looked to me, I would say, like, when you drive into the dump, I always call it dump, transfer station, the panels on the left have been installed, the panels on the right have been installed, the panels in the center haven't been installed. So I'd say like 2/3 have been installed.
I think they're all installed now. I can see it from my backyard now.
That was Saturday
They've
when I
been
was
making
there.
good progress, so. I don't know what they do in the winter, whether they stop or keep working.
So we don't have a completion date.
I don't know, but I'm assuming, it'll be in the spring.
It'll be done in the spring, that quickly?
I think so.
Because that other one on Oxford Ave is taking forever, right? That's still.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
Yeah,
not live yet because they don't have the equipment to tie it in. There's like a back order on all the equipment to tie these things in.
Yeah, they do need National Grid,
Tie it up, yeah,
flip the switch, so.
okay.
Do you have did he send you that in writing, that it's not his problem, the water
Yeah.
overflow?
Yes, I had an email saying that they thought it was an off-site issue, not an on-site issue.
Did you forward that to us, or is that just?
Sure.
Yeah. And, do you have the permit from the DEP? Remember they had to get that,
They did get it,
do you have a copy of it? Did they provide you a copy?
I can
The
check.
usage permit?
If not, I'll get that from the DEP, but they're pretty quick about public records.
Would they be the governing authority?
They going to be.
Yeah, they have to be.
So whatever that has been divided to bill, we should maybe forward to them as well to see if their take is on that.
Yeah, well,
And they do have this registered professional, design professional
Yes.
on staff or with his signature and seal.
Yes.
The last memo we got was stamped.
Okay. As, if there's something afoot, then maybe his credentials are.
so this contain to the mill too? I don't have to read this. It's construction.
See that again?
Would this contain to the mill project? You know, the fire chief said him and Nelson would handle the Stephen Mills project. No, they're saying differently. I'll have to read this through this a little more.
Services required for building and structures needing professional, registered design professional services. It sounds like the mill would require
Yeah,
somebody who's a
but,
registered design professional. wouldn't it?
The fire chief said, yeah.
Town-owned property though.
No, 200.
Because the town's the one that's gonna have to pay for all this, like to pay for the catch basin and all that crap. That wouldn't be coming from the people leasing the property, it'd be the owners.
I do have
To
the
read this a
permit.
little more.
I'll send it out.
Yeah, they got the permit from DEP.
Yes.
So I guess that's a town issue then, if he says it's outside of his jurisdiction, right? So would that be conservation?
It
Well, it's
depends
just a
which
tier one,
property it is.
it's classified as a tier one hazardous release site, so.
Board of Health was in charge of the landfill.
Yeah, Board of Health, if you watched the last Board of Health meeting, they had no idea about that.
Yeah, I know, she was lying through her teeth.
There's a lot of town land there, so it could be on town property.
No, it's definitely town property.
Yeah, it's all town
It's right
property.
at the bottom of the,
Indian Road.
Yeah.
the bottom of the landfill where the catch
Yeah,
basin
it goes right onto that Indian Road all the way down. Comes
So-
all from the dump down.
So it would be a town issue to repair if there's a problem.
All right, next on our agenda.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, going back to Legacy Landing, I had the pleasure of walking their nature trail a couple of times.
How's it going?
Well, it's fine. Some of the residents are a little surprised to see me trooping through what they think is their backyards, but I guess they'll get used to that, because it does come very close to some of the structures. As I understand it, we gave them an extension through December. The
No, it
12th.
was actually, I checked, it went to July, June or July.
Oh, that far.
We created it for a year.
1 year.
Yeah, because they're,
We initially considered December,
okay.
because that's all he asked for.
Right.
When
But
he came.
he's not gonna be done, we know that now.
I can't see how that's gonna happen. That's, but
I mean, he's gonna have a lot of unhappy customers, cause like, there's a lot of lawns that are not grown, planted and grown, and they're working on the detention basins.
it's living in a construction site, is
Yeah.
what it amounts to, quite frankly.
They're
because there's,
gonna be still working there next spring.
Some of the residents are not all that happy.
Yeah.
At
So
the-
what was your impression of the trail? Did it meet the requirement?
I think it probably does. It takes you off the roadway, which, the main road, I forget the name of which was pretty darn muddy. It often is. There's one of these residences, I'm afraid, that has what's pretty much a semi-permanent puddle in front of it. I don't know how that's gonna be taken care of, but, good luck to the folks that are there. That's all I can say. They paid dearly. I don't know that they got a lot for their money, but, and then me trooping through the backyard, bonus.
How close is the trail to someone's house, like from here to the back wall?
To the what?
From here to the
No,
back wall, that close?
Oh, in
Here-
terms
here
of a
to the-
residence?
Here to the window.
Oh, no, it's probably from this table to that table.
That's it?
That's
So
it.
you'd be walking on the trail and that's the person's house right there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see what they're cooking for dinner, or if they've done the laundry, or what's going on in there. I haven't done that yet. But yeah, you're pretty much in their backyards.
Okay.
And at least one of them was very surprised to find out where it was. I don't know what they showed him in advance, but I guess it looked different on paper than it does in reality.
They were supposed to put in a couple of parking places, do you know?
Yes, they have.
And they're in?
I believe they have, yeah.
Okay.
At least there's a pad there. I haven't seen anybody doing anything with it. I don't know, when is the asphalt folks, when do they shut down?
Be pretty soon.
November 15th usually.
All right, because he's still got driveways to do and that.
It's depending on weather.
Yeah, I would say the latest Thanksgiving,
Well, it'll be pretty tight. See
Yeah.
whether they get those last driveways in.
2 or 3 more weeks, I think they're all done.
So they don't have the final course down there, right?
No,
Yeah.
no.
I don't even think they have the berms down.
No,
There's no berms.
July.
And that's another issue that we got with, not Eisenhower, what's the other one?
Oh, yeah.
Truman?
Truman.
You know, I don't think going forward, we should allow any more subdivisions built unless, when they put down the binder course, they're gonna put the berms in, because there's no way to control that runoff. I mean, when you go over to Truman, it's a muddy mess all the time. And they're supposedly keeping up with it, but I mean, like,
You gotta put the hay barrels on.
they,
I have
just
a
put the
bill.
berms in and be done with it.
Yeah, but you still need the hay barrels. That's what building inspector made me do the other day. You
It's
put the
bad.
hay bale rolls up,
Yeah,
because
it's
I dug
bad
a
over-
water line.
It's bad over there. I'm sure the people that live there are not happy with all the mud that's running down the hill. And I mean, those catch basins are really gonna need to be cleaned out before the town takes it over.
Something, yeah.
Because they'll be, the sumps will be full.
Moving down the line here, Stevens Mill. We have the sign, but that's the only sign of any activity. Have we heard anything positive from these guys?
Well, the owner has hired an engineer to design the mitigation elements that the planning board has required. So like
They've just done that now.
widening our lock plays, putting a crosswalk with a beacon, flashing beacon across West Main Street. So there's a team working on those improvements.
Okay.
So they're still moving forward, but I haven't heard anything about construction.
Do we know when our approval expires on that?
Special permits are 3 years, so.
It's, yeah,
It's
things
about-
were getting, we were kind of busy in
It was like
2020.
April or May of 2022, I think. So it's been
Fine.
about a year and a half.
Wow.
It's been more than that.
You think so?
What about now? I think a lot of the activity in terms of the votes on the zoning change, I think were dated 2020. I don't know exactly, the chronology there, but I think it's a little further back than, as
Right.
Tom suggested, that,
Because I've been here almost 3 years, and when I first got on, it started.
yeah. That gets us back to 2020.
Any word on Fish Road? Because they already have their special permit, right?
I've not heard what's going on with either the subdivision or the greenhouse. The planning board decision for Stevens Mill is dated May 11th, 2022.
2022.
It cleared I sent it
Yeah,
on
long
the
time.
9th of June. The town clerk has their 20-day appeal period dated June 30th. So I think it'd be a year and a half, 3 years from June 30th of 2022.
Well, time flies. Or it doesn't.
So that would be, they'd have until 2025.
Yes.
Anything else on those before we move to Planner's Plate?
No.
Okay, Planner's Plate.
I sent you the Citizens Planner Training Collaborative Workshops.
Yes, that's tomorrow.
If any of you want to participate, let me know, and we'll cover the cost. They had a pretty full slate of modules this year, so if you feel like attending anything, let me know.
And it's actually tomorrow. The dates?
I think there's a list that go throughout
I
fall.
made an attempt to send the copy of the CMRPC newsletter, which I believe has the similar,
Okay.
has the same information, maybe different format.
Okay.
But hopefully there's a chronology there. If you didn't get it, let me know and I'll try it again.
Those are all Zoom meetings?
What's that?
Those are all Zoom meetings?
I
Yes.
thought one was, I didn't think the
I
other
think
one.
they
I think
are.
that there's something in Westboro in one case where there's two meetings and they're asking you to be at, I think, the Westboro location, Westboro Department of
Oh, okay.
whatever, I believe on one of them. But,
There might be an option to attend Zoom, by Zoom.
Definitely makes it easier. Okay, comments from the planning board?
I would just recommend must-see TV. There was a meeting of economic development on October 17th, and quite honestly, that's not a meeting that I necessarily view very often, but there were representatives there from CMRPC, and they talked at length about things that they'd like to do, the committee, if you will, and the CMRPC folks, to change up the West Main area as you're coming from Webster into Dudley. Bill was in attendance at that meeting. They had something of a handout. I don't know if copies of that could be made available to us.
Sure.
One of the things that I kind of got a little concerned about is in that meeting, they mentioned agriculture, they mentioned conservation, they mentioned historical, the different commissions and bodies, committees in town. And I'm not too sure that all these things are somehow coming together or being coordinated. We want to do something that makes the town kind of buzz or a little more attractive. And we do have a project on the table right now, unfortunately, at the library to do something with the adjacent property there. But that doesn't get into the picture because that's Library Board of Trustees in this silo. And we've got another silo with these folks, and then we've got agriculture over here. And I'm not seeing these connecting very easily or well. And I would hope that somehow, as we approach the 300th anniversary of Dudley and the 200th of Webster, we can get some of these things coordinated. And the only thing that I think coordinates them is Mr. Scanlon's presence at most or many of these meetings. I don't know if that requires joint meetings going forward or how we communicate. I know we've had issues in the past with water and sewer in terms of communication. The lines of communication don't seem to be clear and obvious in all cases.
I'd just like to see Hill Street Bridge be put back up.
I don't know, Bill, I'd
Yeah.
leave it to you to comment. I don't know when their next meeting is. I looked for it on the calendar and I didn't see it.
The EDC?
Yes.
I haven't scheduled it yet, but I'm looking at the third Tuesday of November.
Okay. And there was mention there in terms of possible zoning changes too. I mean, there are, not necessarily everything would involve the planning board, but a lot of that stuff that I heard presented seems to kind of orbit our world a little bit, if you will, if it's not directly involved.
Yeah.
I don't know how we link these things together. You know, they're all happening seemingly independent of one another, and hopefully there's some way of coordinating or bringing it into focus. We did have that open space and recreation group that met, and I guess we've done our charter. Yeah, one other thing that I saw that was in the Worcester Telegram yesterday, I believe, and it would involve two schools in Worcester who managed to put together a playground outside of one of the public schools in Worcester. And I assume the labor was volunteers, and that obviously affected the cost. But they were using mulch, not this fancy plastic rubber stuff that we've bamboozled into buying over here. But I don't know what our budget is in terms of what the ladies of the Women's Club have been able to raise, but I'm assuming they got good pricing on the equipment that they put in there. Maybe we could do something with this no-fund zone instead of waiting for that $400,000 number to come rolling in, because I don't see that rolling in from anywhere right now, quite frankly.
I thought I was getting paid for it by a grant.
The plan is, yeah, so we've completed the open space plan, which makes the town eligible now for grants. There's an upcoming round of the Federal Land and Water Conservation Fund, which is requires a 50% match. So we could submit an application. I believe we got about $42,000 in from the Women's Club fundraising effort, so we could use that as part of a match.
I think at town meeting, when this was proposed, that this was not the last town meeting, it's a couple back, I think it was 379 that was throwing out as a number. So if you're looking at 50% match of that, the 40-something that they've raised, it doesn't quite mean,
Still $2,000.
yeah, you're looking at a big nut. I don't know, maybe that thing was, you know, we're gonna have a splash pad and who knows what, you know, and over there to drive the cost up. It seemed a little on the high side. And obviously, you wanna ask for everything and then kind of work it back, I suppose, but maybe we need to look at a more realistic number. I think it's a shame, really, to see that thing over there as it is, it has been for, what are we going on, 2 years at least? It's crazy.
21.
All right, well, correct my arithmetic, that 3 years or whatever, will be 3 years and 24. And it's not going anywhere. It's just, well, so much to be said for that. But the thought was that if the city of Worcester, through their public schools, was able to partner with some of the educational institutions in the city, then we have one sitting on a hill up here that you might consider helping out with some of that.
There's also the possibility we could look to Bay Path and see if they could have
Excellent thought.
There's an idea.
Yeah.
some of the kids help out with, I mean, like,
Some masonry,
yeah, playground.
Masonry, carpentry,
Playground equipment, a lot of it
metal,
is-
machining, yeah.
is just welded metal, and they can weld metal there, and they have an auto body shop, they could paint it too,
Yeah.
so.
You've got a whole host of talent up there. That's an excellent point. And maybe we could rely on some of the laborers I suggested up on the hill. I think if we're gonna get anything done over there, waiting for that 46,000 to magically become 200,000 is
A lot of waiting.
a lot of waiting.
Okay, I don't think we're gonna have any comments from the audience, so that would put us down to the other business. Next meeting date we set for December 19th. This will be the planning board meeting.
13th.
Excuse me, 13th. The 19th is gonna be the joint meeting with, 18th, sorry.
18th, yeah.
The 18th is gonna be the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen.
So we need an agenda for that, Bill?
I will post it.
Yeah.
Number two, we have consultant voucher payments, so we have a $147 bill for Stonebridge Press legal ad.
Yes, that's in the invoices tab.
Yep. Would somebody like to make a motion that we vote to have?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we pay Stonebridge Press legal ad expense of $147.
And I received another one in today from Graves Engineering.
We need to vote them individually, Bill?
Their site visit that we just reviewed.
Okay, we need to vote them individually, or?
We can vote this one separately.
Okay.
It was for $423.83.
All right, we need a second.
Okay, do we have
Second.
we have a motion and a second on the $147 bill?
$23.83. Oh, okay.
Do we, all in favor for paying the
Aye.
Stonebridge Press bill?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Okay, now on the Graves Engineering bill, total for $423.83, and this was for Sophie's Way?
Yes.
For Sophie's Way.
Is that something we billed to Stephen?
Dave,
He doesn't have a-
yes, it's, they paid $3,000, I think, for peer review expenses.
So it comes out of the fund.
So it comes out of the escrow account.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we pay the Graves Engineering invoice for $464.97.
No, it's $423.83.
Oh, $423.83, okay,
The
we
number
got a
above.
discount already.
The number above. Probably the cash discount.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Okay, so we have the bills paid. Other town notices or other correspondence?
I don't know if you heard, but Michelle Jervis has been appointed the Assistant Town Administrator,
Really?
a promotion from her Selectman's Assistant, Administrative Assistant. So she's now the Assistant Town Administrator
Let's get rid
and
of it.
Personnel Officer.
Okay.
And she's a personnel officer as well?
Yes.
Personnel officer?
Pardon?
What'd you say, personnel officer?
Personnel, yes.
So, yeah, how come we don't have a personnel board anymore? Because that's in our bylaw to have a personnel board.
Well, congratulations to Michelle. I think actually she's been wearing some of those hats.
I
and,
think so.
Now it makes it official. Hopefully there's compensation accordingly. The only, there is, I believe there's some effort to put together a CPR class that the fire chief is sponsoring for town employees. And I think I saw somewhere that that would be something eligible, or that members of committees and boards in town would also be eligible to participate if they choose to do so.
Wow.
And I'm not sure what the schedule is, but I'm sure it's posted somewhere.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find out.
Yeah, shoot me that an email.
Okay.
I don't think I got it. You got a lot of work.
Well, when Bill finds it.
Chairman, I would move that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Good night.